Hello YouTube, and today I'm going to show you a pretty simple example of bind9 and isc-dhcp server working together in order to resolve domain names and dynamically update domain names. So in this I will be covering isc-dhcp server, DNS with bind9, and some pools and dynamic updating. So we'll start by looking at the DNS configuration. So here I am logged into the server, which actually our name server. What am I doing? Okay. So if we go in here, we see we have all these configuration files. The only configuration file that you really have to worry about is your named.conf.local. So this is where your zones go. So what's the zones file? The zones file specifies what DNS zones you want to run. In this case, I'm also have a key. So I have a special key which is in a separate file inside the keys directory. This key allows programs like isc-dhcp-server to remotely update my DNS server. And I can show you what that looks like. So we'll go into their keys and we'll look at our isc. So as you can see, there's our secret string. This is just MD5, not very secure, but again, this is on a completely closed subnet, so who the hell cares? And, well, it's a very simple file. It's just this declaration, and then that's included by name.conf.local. So then when we go declare a zone, we make sure to put a period here, because otherwise DNS don't know the end of the fully qualified domain name, also FQDN. So that's telling it that it is operating on the LAN dot zone. If you say just the LAN zone, it could mean LAN.com or LAN.net or LAN.co.uk. It could mean LAN dot anything. But if you say LAN dot, it means just LAN, nothing more. Right? And then for allow query, that specifies, hey, who can query this DNS server? I'm not using this in this example. I thought I'd add it just to show. Type master tells it that this is the master zone. That's not really super important. It's kind of like authoritative in a DNS, in a DHCP server configuration file. And then this file /etc/bind/zone/db.lan, that's our database file for our domain. And normally that's db.the_zone name. And then allow update, that's telling it which key is allowed to update it. So remember that this file specifies a key. That key is called isc-dhcp-server key. And then in this allow update function, we're actually specifying that that key can actually update our DNS server. So, what's the zones file look like? So we'll go, oh, I can't type. So we'll go into our zones directory and we'll look at db.lam. So this is a rather complex example, but really the only important bits are this. So the $origin dot specifies our origin as everything. Not really necessary. I just added it because examples have it normally, and again, it's not important in this example, but just for your knowledge, yeah, that's what that means. So dot would mean everything. So any domain should be checked to see if it's in this zone. And then the time to live, that's how long entries should live in the DNS server. This specifies a service area. So NSOA means all the DNS requests go into this service area. And then ns.lan specifies the primary name server. Root.localhost specifies the email. In this case, where this is DNS, at means something different. So the at symbol would be invalid here. So instead we use dot. Serial, this is a serial number of the file. Refresh, it's how much of a delay it should take to refresh the DNS entry. Retry means how long it should take between retries of the DNS entry. expire, how long until it expires, and the time to live minimum, which is 3 hours. So the name server here, that's another name server, but you need at least one of these definitions because otherwise DNS isn't smart enough to go and check what the name server is here. So it don't know what the name server is, so you have to specify it here. So I specify ns.lan and then a dot because that's the end of the domain. All this stuff is automatically added. Well, actually, most of it's automatically added. Here is a manual address entry. So I have GW, and GW is an address specified by A, and then I'm giving it 192.168.1.1. And then if I do an ns lookup, gw.lam, you can see it resolves to that. Okay, so we're not going to save any changes. Okay, let's look at another. Let's look at our isc-dhcp server. So inside of here, we're declaring our server as authoritative, giving a lease time, 1 lease per client. This is important because we don't want multiple DNS entries per client. DNS updates we want to be on because we actually want to do this. Otherwise, you won't be watching this video. And we're going to make it interim. You can read in the man pages about what this means. Update static leases, that means update leases that don't change. Again, we want that on because we want all of our leases to always be up to date. And then include key, where isc-dhcp-server and bind9 are both made by ISC. The configuration files are practically the same, so we don't have to write separate key definitions for both the DHCP server and the DNS server. We could just include the key. And then we'll specify our LAN zone. Remember, FQDNs have to end with a dot, specifying the end of the zone. So here I'm declaring LAN dot to specify the end. Otherwise it wouldn't be able to determine if we mean LAN.net or LAN or just .LAN. And then we're saying the primary name server to be our local name server, and then the key to be the isc-dhcp server key, which is declared in this file. So here's our subnet. So the subnet, we're declaring our custom subnet with a special netmask and a special subnet identifier. Don't really matter for whatever you're doing. And then I have a very complex setup, but the basics are the same. So I have a gateway router, and that's just declared. And then I set the host declared names. So what use host declared names mean? If you didn't have this video, you could check the manual file, the man page. And if you did have this video, I'll tell you. So use host declared names means use the host names declared by the client. So the client, when it declares its host name to the DHCP server, it'll use that. So normally I keep this off, and I use the host definitions below. But we'll see in the next little subnet region we keep it on. So we'll use this multiple. And then for our domain name, we specify that we want to put everything by default in main.lan. And then our domain name servers are local name server, external name server 1, and external name server 2. So our unknown client only pool. This is set to allow unknown clients because it's unknown clients only. And it's got a special range. It's got a special domain name. So anything that's miscellaneous, anything that randomly connects, I haven't manually assigned an address yet, goes into here. And then our domain name servers, they're the same, don't really matter, and we'll use the host names declared by the client. So next, let me go through here. So here's another separate little domain name. We say this is part of the management LAN, so I've got a special LAN for all my management stuff. So for my PowerEdge 2950, I've got its own little address, and I've got one for this server, and then I've got a separate LAN for Jeff, and he's got upcon.jeff.lan, and I've got a special domain name for him. And this is a key little configuration thing. So let's say you have a Raspberry Pi or an Orange Pi or something like that on your network, and it always uses the host name Raspberry Pi or Orange Pi, and you don't want to change a host name on the computer because that'd be a big pain in your ass. Well, that's what happened here. So instead, we specify that we want to use a specific host name upcon. And yeah, so now it gets upcon.jeff.lan. Okay, next bit. So all this stuff here, again, this computer here is running on Orange Pi 0. So I give it a special host name, cube, and it gets part of .main.lan. And if you're wondering, that's a 4x4x4 RGB LED cube with custom kernel drivers and everything. And then here's another example. So I have a special LED matrix, which is pretty big, it's pretty cool, and it's got its own special little region. So that's pretty much how that works. So you can look in the host file. This isn't nearly as important, but this is the IP addresses of everything on the network. So I have an internal Netmask, and yeah, you can go all out like me, but you really don't need to go all out like this. And I have all of my name servers, so just local name server is that, external name servers, and then I have subnet declarations for the A subnet, and then I have a subnet special IP for that. I've got special IPs for all this. This guy, he's not even on anymore because I told him to screw off. And then I've got all this crap because I don't really like IPv6. Oh, the rain just decided it wanted to screw with me. I guess I'm not going to bed tonight. Anyways, so here I have a little program which is actually connecting to one of these things on LAN, and as you can see, I could just specify led-matrix.main.lan, and this image here is actual image being shown on my LED matrix, which is to the right of where I'm sitting right now, and it's telling me it's 2:46 a.m. and I need to get some sleep, but no, I decided to do this instead. So here I have a little thing open where I'm logged into my management server. So the server I'm logged into right now, and as you can see, it's doing its little thing, and I've got it set to frankenserver-ipmi.management.lan. And yeah, so we'll leave this guy. We'll leave this guy, and as you can see, I was just logged into ns.lan, or I can SSH and do gw.lan, because the GW and NS, the name server gateway are the same server. Eventually that's probably going to change, because I've only got so many CPU power to go around. Now, you can expand this by doing reverse ARPA lookup, but reverse ARPA lookup is really confusing and I haven't figured it out yet, so I might do a follow-up video on that, just as an FYI. Don't count on it though, because I very rarely make videos, because it is a big and total pain in the ass, because I've already recorded this damn video 3 times and it's still not to the quality I would like. But at its current state, I would have loved this video as opposed to the other videos on the same topic, because the other videos on the same topic do not exist, and the videos on ISC bind server are awful. Speaking of that, I'll also show you how to access the man pages, because it seems to me like not very many people know how to do that, even though it's kind of common sense. So let's say you want to figure out what a special option in dhcpd.conf does. You can do man-dhcp.conf, and holy shit, you get all the information you could ever want about isc-dhcp-server. Now, whenever you actually need to do something, going through here is a pain, but it's a lot more efficient than banging your head against the wall 20 times. And as you can see, here's an example of the pool thing I was doing earlier, and you can even do classes and allocation classes, and you can, let's say if Ethernet card has a specific vendor ID, right? So you could put all of your Broadcom network cards on one subnet. Why you want to do that? Well, here's a perfect example of this. So you could put all of your DV, DSL modems or JR cable modems on one subnet, because why the hell not? And here's dynamic DNS server updates. And as you can see, it's got this underline. That normally means it recommends to another man page. So we'll go ahead and pop that in. And as we can see, I'm on my laptop, so I don't even have a bind. Sorry, I don't have a DNS server running on my laptop, surprisingly. Oh, well, okay, that's kind of crappy. But let's say I want to figure out about bind9. It takes a bit, so it's called bind9-config. And boom, it'll give you a whole bunch of information about that. So, man, and you can use the autocomplete. So, ddns-confgen, DNS key generation tool. Actually, I used this earlier. But this is how you generate keys. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just use the -h. So, yeah, another universal thing is pretty much with every single command in Linux. If you add -h, you get a usage dialog telling you exactly how to use the friggin' command. I'm going to have to use this after this video because I'm going to have to remake my keys since I showed it. I didn't really want to show it, but whatever. I don't want to freaking black out the video. That's a pain in the butt. Anyways, have a good day. Bye.